everyone, welcome to my channel. So today we will be starting class 10th chemistry chapter 1 chemical reactions and equations. So without wasting any time, let's get started. Now, what is a physical change? A process in which a substance changes its physical appearance but there's no change in its basic composition. So, basically, no new substance is formed in case of a physical change. Only the basic appearance is changing but the substance remains as such. For example, cutting of paper. If you cut a paper, then the paper will remain as such only. It will not change into any other substance. The atoms or the molecules of paper are not undergoing any change. They are remaining as such. There is no making and breaking of bonds between the atoms of the substance. Okay, so the basic composition, the chemical composition remains same, but only the physical appearance changes, and that is why we call it a physical change. Similarly, melting of ice, although the arrangement of atoms is changing, the space between them is changing, but ultimately the atoms of water are remaining of water only. They're not undergoing any change or changing into a new substance. So this is how we define a physical change. Now, what is a chemical change? And this is what we have to deal in this entire chapter. A reaction in which a new, I'm sorry, there is some typing mistakes. A reaction in which chemical substance gets transformed into a new chemical substance by making and breaking of bonds between different atoms is known as a chemical reaction. Now, unlike the physical change, in case of a chemical reaction, the basic chemical composition of a substance changes, and that is why there is formation of a new substance. But it's not that the atoms of one substance are changing. No, there is only making and breaking of bonds between the atoms, and this gives rise to new substances. Since the change is taking place at the atomic level or at the molecular level, that is why we are calling it as a chemical change or a chemical reaction. It is giving rise to a new substance. And you also need to know that generally the physical changes are reversible, means you can get the original substance back, but in case of a chemical reaction they are generally irreversible. There are exceptions, but generally they are irreversible, means you cannot get the original substance back. Now we have many examples of chemical changes. Now these are given as questions in your book, but I have given the answers also, because each and every line of NCERT is very, very important. You should not miss anything of NCERT. You should thoroughly read NCERT. Even the summary which is given in a pink colored box at the end of every chapter, that is also very important. So although you refer to n number of books, n number of side books, but NCERT reading is very important, and I strongly suggest you to thoroughly read NCERT. Okay, now let's come to the example. So what happens, the question is asked, what happens when milk is left at room temperature during summer? So actually a chemical reaction or a chemical change takes place. Why? Because when milk is left at room temperature during summers, then its taste changes. It becomes sour due to breakdown of lactose into lactic acid. See, the lactose sugar which is present in milk is breaking down into lactic acid by the action of the lactobacillus bacteria. So we don't care what is acting upon or what is not acting upon, but a new substance is being formed out of the original substance, and that is why it is a chemical reaction. I hope you all got it. And this lowers the pH of milk. So we'll discuss pH in more detail in our second chapter, but for now you can understand it's basically a hydrogen, it's basically the measure of hydrogen ion concentration in a solution. So we'll deal this in the next chapter. Now, an iron tawa pan nail is left exposed to humid atmosphere. So what happens when iron is left exposed to atmosphere? It rusts. Again, it is a chemical change, because it is forming a new substance. That rust, that red brown substance is what? It's a new substance, and that is why it is a chemical reaction. Now next is grapes get fermented. Now first you need to understand what is the meaning of fermentation. So I have given you the definition: a process of converting carbohydrates to alcohol or organic acids using microbes, usually yeast in food industry, brewing industry, etc. So basically fermentation process is used in the food industry or brewing industry, and in this process what happens is that we convert carbohydrates into alcohol or some organic acids by the action of yeast or any other microbe, but generally we use yeast. Okay, so again a new substance is being formed. We saw in the definition only that fermentation is giving rise to a new substance from an existing substance. So definitely grapes getting fermented will be a chemical reaction only. So now exactly see what happens. So the process of fermentation in wine making. So basically this fermentation of grapes is used in wine industries because we make wine or alcoholic spirits out of this grapes. So turns grape juice into an alcoholic beverage, as I told. In fermentation, yeast transforms sugar present in the juice into ethanol, carbon dioxide. So this is the reaction which actually takes place. So it will transform the sugar present in the grape juice to ethanol. Wine is also actually a form of ethanol only. It may have different concentrations, but ultimately it's an alcoholic spirit, and it also leads to the evolution of carbon dioxide gas. So ultimately it is giving rise to new substances, and therefore it is a chemical reaction. Now food gets digested in our body. The food we eat, it is insoluble, so we need to digest it. We need to break it into simple soluble substances, and for that we use digestion. So it gives rise to simpler substances from an original substance. So again it will be a chemical reaction. For example, carbohydrates or the starch which we eat ultimately gets decomposed into glucose. So it's a decomposition reaction, basically. We'll study in detail, but since a new substance is being formed, it is a chemical reaction. Food is cooked. Ultimately some chemical reactions will take place only. For example, if you're adding baking soda, then baking soda is giving rise to carbon dioxide. So chemical reactions are taking place. Now we respire. In the process of respiration, we oxidize the glucose, we combine the glucose with oxygen to release energy out of it, and in that process carbon dioxide is also liberated. So this is also a chemical reaction. I hope you all understood the meaning of chemical reaction. Now, how will you identify that a chemical reaction has taken place or not? So there are several observations which help us to identify that a chemical reaction is taking place or not. And what are these observations? So let's see. Now, mind you that several times board has given this as a full-fledged 3 to 5 marks question to explain the observations with examples. So I have given you a proper answer. If you write this, you'll get full marks. So let's see. Now, change in state of reactants. Now, if a change is occurring in the state of reactants, for example, you took two liquid substances and you're getting solid out of it, so it is also an indication of a chemical reaction. It's not always true. For example, melting of ice, only the state is changing, but it's not a chemical reaction. So there are exceptions, but yes, you need to accept them. Ammonia gas reacts with hydrogen chloride gas to produce solid ammonium chloride. So you're taking ammonia, which is in gaseous state, and HCl, which is also in gaseous state, and when you react them, both of them are reacted, so they give ammonium chloride, which is solid. Another reaction is that you take calcium oxide and mix it in water. So calcium oxide is solid and water is liquid, but out of these two you will get calcium hydroxide, which is an aqueous solution. So as you can see, there's a change in state. You took solid and liquid substances and you're getting an aqueous substance. So what is an aqueous? Basically it's a solution of a substance in water. That is what we call as aqueous. Okay, and there is also a lot of evolution of heat in this reaction. Now what is another observation? Change in color. For example, if you take iron and copper sulfate solution and react them together, so what will happen is that the blue color of copper sulfate, so copper sulfate solution is blue in color, and this copper sulfate solution will change to a pale green color because that is the color of ferrous sulfate, and a reddish brown deposit will be seen on the iron metal, and that reddish brown deposit will be of copper. So since a change is taking place in color, we can consider it to be a chemical reaction. Now, evolution of gas. If there is an evolution of gas, then also we can consider that reaction to be a chemical reaction. For example, when zinc reacts with sulfuric acid, then it evolves hydrogen gas along with the formation of an aqueous solution of zinc sulfate. So since a gas is being evolved, you can consider it to be a chemical reaction. Now, formation of precipitate. So basically, what is a precipitate? An insoluble salt. Means generally what happens is that when you react to substances, you get a substance which dissolves in water. But at times you may also get a precipitate, means an insoluble. So it will not dissolve, but it's when you react silver nitrate solution with sodium chloride. So now both of them are aqueous, means silver nitrate and NaCl both dissolve in water. But when you're reacting them, so they give silver chloride, which is a precipitate, means it does not dissolve in water. Also, sodium nitrate which dissolves in water, but you are getting a precipitate. So if a precipitate is being formed, then also you can consider it as a chemical reaction. Change in temperature. So there may be a rise in the temperature of a reaction mixture or a fall in the temperature of a reaction mixture. So if any of these happens, then you can identify the reaction to be a chemical reaction. For example, when zinc is reacting with sulfuric acid, you get zinc sulfate plus hydrogen gas along with the evolution of heat. So if you touch the test tube after the reaction, so you'll feel that it is warm, indicating that heat has been evolved in the reaction, means given out in the reaction. Now the opposite of it is that when you're reacting barium hydroxide with ammonium chloride, then you get barium chloride plus ammonia plus water, and this is characterized by a fall in temperature, means the reaction mixture will become cold. When you touch the test tube, the reaction mixture will be cold, which means that it is an endothermic reaction. So what happens generally, the reactions which evolve heat are considered to be as exothermic reactions, and the reactions which absorb heat are considered to be as endothermic reactions. And when you're absorbing heat, then the end result is that there is a fall in the temperature of the reaction mixture. Okay, so a lot of heat energy is absorbed during this reaction, due to which the temperature of reaction mixture falls and the bottom of the test tube becomes cold. And this is what I explained you. Now let's move on to the activities. So there are several activities given in your chapter, and each of them is important. You cannot ignore activities because board can frame questions from anywhere. So as I told you, you must study each and every corner of NCERT. So the first activity which is given in your book, activity 1.1. Now caution that you must not perform this activity alone. It's dangerous, so you must take your teacher's assistance. Also, you should wear some suitable eyeglasses before the experiment. As you know, magnesium ribbon burns with a dazzling white flame, we'll see later on. And burn the magnesium as far as possible from your eyes, means you should take some basic precautionary measures before performing the experiment. It's necessary for your safety. Now let's move on to the experiment procedure basically. So clean a magnesium ribbon 3 to 4 centimeter in length by rubbing with sandpaper. So first you need to clean the magnesium ribbon. Now why is it necessary? What is the reason? So they can give you this question. Why do we clean the magnesium ribbon with sandpaper? 2 marks question. So I have given the answer. So this is done to remove any impurity. Now the impurity can be in any form. It can be an oxide also, it can be a carbonate also, or any other compound. So just to remove that impurity, we clean the magnesium ribbon, because if that impurity is sticking to the surface of magnesium ribbon, no, so, and it may hinder the reaction. That is why, to prevent any such thing, we clean the magnesium ribbon beforehand only. Now after you have cleaned the magnesium ribbon, hold the magnesium ribbon with a pair of tongs. So it's a laboratory equipment. So burn it over a spirit lamp or burner. So you hold it with a pair of tongs and then you burn it over a spirit lamp or a burner. So you can get them in the laboratory. These are laboratory equipments. And then collect the ash so formed in a watch glass. So after you have burnt the magnesium ribbon, whatever ash is formed, you collect it in a washed glass. Now, what will be the observation? After you have done this procedure, what will you see? Okay, this is also very important, because all the activities given in your book will have some or the other observations. Of course, if you're performing any experiment, then you will get to see something, some or the other thing. And in boards, they often ask you to write the observation for this activity or that activity. So observations are very, very important, especially in case of decomposition reactions, which we'll see in our later videos. But for now, you should know the observation which will happen in this activity. The magnesium ribbon burns with a dazzling white flame. This is the first observation, that it burns with a dazzling white flame. And the second, it forms a white colored powder, means when you're collecting the ash in that watch glass, it will give, or it will be a white colored powder. And what is the reaction? So when you are burning the magnesium ribbon, then the magnesium combines with the oxygen gas of atmosphere to give magnesium oxide, and this magnesium oxide is what you get in that watch glass. And also heat and light are evolved. Now the second activity, activity 1.2. Take lead nitrate solution in a test tube, add potassium iodide solution to this. So we are basically taking lead nitrate solution and potassium iodide solution and we are mixing them together. Now what is the observation? A yellow solid is formed. This is very important. They ask Name the yellow solid which is formed in case of lead nitrate and potassium iodide. So questions can be formed in several ways, but your concept should be clear. So you should know, you should remember it, just get it imprinted in your mind that the yellow solid is lead iodide. So basically lead iodide is precipitating in the reaction, and that is why we are getting it as a yellow solid. So this is the reaction that potassium iodide and lead nitrate both are in aqueous solutions. When you react them, you get potassium nitrate which is an aqueous solution, but lead iodide which is solid, and it is basically a yellow precipitate. Okay. Now activity 1.3. Take few zinc granules in a conical flask or test tube, add dilute HCl or sulfuric acid to this. Now again there is a caution or precaution which you need to take, that handle the acid with care. Always be very careful while handling the acids because they are highly corrosive in nature, and if any miscare is taken then you may end up burning your hands or any such accident. So be very careful while handling the acids. Okay, so in this activity we are basically taking a conical flask or a test tube, and then we are adding dilute HCl or sulfuric acid to it. Okay, and now what is the observation? Bubbles of hydrogen gas are formed around zinc granules. So basically, when you write the observation, you should not use the name of the product because now you do not know. No, you just have to write the observation. Okay, this was what you saw. How can you say that, okay, this was the gas only? So actually there's a printing mistake. It should be bubbles of gas are formed around zinc granules, and there is an evolution of gas which burns with a pop sound, and then you can write indicating that it is hydrogen gas. Okay, I'm sorry for this error, but generally we don't use the name of the product because you're just writing the observation, and by just observing how can you identify if there are some special characteristics of a product, then only you can identify. For example, you saw that bubbles of a gas are formed around zinc granules, and when you tested the gas by bringing a burning matchstick, it burnt with a pop sound. So this indicated that it is hydrogen gas. The test tube becomes hot. These are the observations. So mind it that don't use the product generally. You can write them in bracket for reference, but don't directly write it. Okay. Zinc plus H2SO4 in aqueous form gives zinc sulfate in aqueous form plus hydrogen gas along with the evolution of heat. Okay. This was all for today's video, and as you can see I have designed the complete notes for this chapter, and believe me guys, so they are completely reliable notes. You need not refer to any side book after referring to these notes, but yes, NCERT reading is very important as I already told you. So if you want these notes, you can DM me for details. You can get them just for ₹30. The link is given in the description box. And yes, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel.